G'day and welcome to the Making It Myles podcast, where we talk about all things related to building and construction, as well as at the real estate industry through the lens of a building inspector. If any of this is any value to you or somebody who needs to bloody well hear it, give it a share, give it a rating, all those types of things. Make sure you give us a follow on Instagrams and all that sort of shit. If you don't want to do that, that's cool. I don't really mind. So there's two formats of the podcast. We've got the shed, which just talks about all those types of things, and the journey. The journey is where we dabble in a bit of personal development stuff every now and then. Talk about my story, making it with Myles. It's not just about building things. It's also about me and the progress and sort of what I'm doing as well, and help sort of inspire some young gentlemen and gentlewomen in regards to being better, because it's been a big impact in my life, and I just want to share those good things as well. On this episode, we will be talking AI and helping your trade business. So this one is specific for the trades that follow me through on my socials and on the podcast itself. And this is, I think, a very important topic for people within the industry and people that might be a little bit old school and not really caring too much or don't think AI is real or anything like that. But it is something that is genuinely going to make a massive impact on the industry in all different areas, I believe. It's already doing so at the moment. This is going to be a nice brief one. It's going to talk about why it's important, what are its capabilities, things I could think about in the future, things that you should worry about with AI, what you can use it for, all that sort of stuff. So what we'll do is we'll talk about why is AI important. So AI is important, artificial intelligence. That's just the high level component. I won't even go into too far of a depth of specific types of AI, but more or less what it is, it helps pick up the pieces of the repetitive jobs, it helps create ideas, it helps solve problems. It's a tool that should be used within most businesses, I believe, to really help streamline their processes so they can focus more on the task at hand rather than all the bullshit that we have to do on the back end. Okay, so you'll notice, especially with trade businesses, as well as being a plumber, there's a lot of things associated with that outside of just shark biting everything together like a fucking puzzle piece. You've also got to do things like all your administration processes, quoting jobs, managing jobs. Might be safety issues you got to resolve, something like that. So there's a lot of things in the back end that we don't like spending too much time on, especially as hands-on types of individuals. Paperwork for us is a pain in the ass, and we don't really enjoy it. So that is where and why AI is important, because it helps really streamline those processes for a lot of individuals. What are the capabilities? The capabilities is getting it to a point where it's endless. At the moment, the capabilities are ask it a question, it can give you a solution. That's basically it. These solutions, in some circumstances, if you go into too much depth or go down too much of a rabbit hole, can be fraudulently and just made up bullshit. So that's something you should be more or less aware about. Should we be worried about the AI itself? Yeah, fucking oath. Killer robots, don't want a bar of it. That being said, if it's done correctly and done right, I think it can make a really big impact on society in general. And I think people do believe that they always say they don't think AI is going to get into the building industry, but I disagree. I think based on the speed of technology in regards to the enhancement of everything, it's going to get to a certain point for sure. We'll have robots fucking build shit. I am very certain of that. To the detail that we want, probably not. It'll be very basic to begin with, but over a period of time, that's just what I foresee occurring. Now, I could be wrong, hope I'm wrong, but see how that plays out in the long run. What I would recommend you do, especially within your specific business itself, what you should do in regards to how to use AI is come across the problems that you want solved within your current day-to-day. You might be quoting jobs and you got to do takeoffs. In some circumstances, you can just run that through generative AI, so like a ChatGPT, for example, and it can pull out the data that you might need just to quote a job. So instead of just going like repeatedly doing one specific task, like going through and doing bits and pieces, use it to help build systems to help improve that process. So all the administration stuff is where you can really do and build systems currently. And I think it's really worth it. Like for me personally, I use ChatGPT. Like I've got a premium package now, but I do it for a lot of things. I do it for like any copy, so any sort of written text that needs to be articulated a bit better, because I'm not the most articulated person when I write things out. I just sort of write how I speak, and then I just throw it in there. I'm like, can you write it for this type of audience or write it for this type of situation? And it punches out something so much better than what I could produce. I even just get it to like reword and fix my grammar because I'm just useless with it. And it'll pump out a result that's great. So rather than you sitting there for fucking hours on end trying to get it right, or paying someone that does copy to do sort of ads or flyers, or even just writing out, you might even be putting a proposal together for getting specific work. Maybe you're putting like a flyer together to do things for more work. Maybe you're a plumber and you have, again, specific sort of techniques or specific sort of industry plumbing, and you might be looking, I don't know, go to homeowners that fucking are landlords, and you put together like a maintenance package. I don't know, I'm just making shit up on the spot. But at least you can put sort of flyers or things together and you can make it sound professional, even still using your own words and what you're going to do. But you can sort of get this extra set of hands, this expert next to you to really help you improve that process. Other ideas I sort of use for is like even like provide content ideas. So even if you're someone that's in the trade and you're starting to lean into a bit more of the social media side of things, or even just marketing and advertising, just putting in ideas of what you do, how you go about your business and what you're trying to get out of it. It's a problem solving. It's just a problem solving portal, really. Like, ask it to help you with a specific problem. I want to generate more leads in my local area. What can I do? You can learn these things online with ChatGPT. It's the same process, but it's streamlined. So you can really learn a lot from it. And it's worth learning these things now because everyone else is going to learn it and they're going to just get a step ahead of you and you'll be sitting back wondering why all your work's dropped off because you've been relying on word of mouth, which is not a bad thing. But every now and then you just need a bit of a top up and everyone's just outperforming because they're starting to implement all these strategies, and it's worth it doing it sooner than doing it later. Other things you can do, again, you can pull data from plans. So you might have a 100-page document. You might be a subcontractor doing a big project. There's a fucking million plans. You can run the plans through and ask it questions. Like, you can ask it, what is the tile for this local area? What's the material of the downpipe? What is the roof finish? Like, and it can pull out all this information, and with Gen AI, like, it will actually interpret it in a certain way where I can just express it back to you in summary form. All right. Now you'll still go back and double check and confirm and all those types of things, but it does help speed up some of the process rather than looking through 100 pages of documentation. You can find it. It can find it for you, and then you can search it for it within that documentation itself to make your process easier. Another thing as well, I found it's good for even accounting questions. Like, how do we go about this? I want to do this. I want to automate this. I've got like heaps of maintenance things and I want to code it to do this, or I want to do that. I run Xero, for example, and it's like Xero has a really good documentation online, so it can build anything. It's fantastic. So you can ask it the specific questions about Xero, and then it can also just help you build specific rules and things with your accounting processes. So you can just reconcile nice and quick. You don't have to fuck around with things, time on, time off, because this is what really slows and makes the whole running a business a pain in the ass, I must admit. I've done things like draft privacy policies. Rather than paying a lawyer, $600 an hour to make one, I just draft one based on my business and what the business does and what systems are in place. It can draft a privacy policy based on that. Then you go to the experts, read this. What do you reckon? Give me some feedback. So you're doing 60% of the work for them already, okay? And then they can just tidy up all the bits and bobs. Legal documentation is another one as well. You can write some really good letters. Really get clear and learning about, like, say you send out a quote, for example, all your disclaimers at the bottom rather than just being bullshit sort of writing, and rather than paying a lawyer to go through the whole process. Now, I'm not saying don't not call a lawyer, but it's worth doing the legwork and then, present to the lawyer, right? These are my quotes. These are my tax invoices. These are my payment terms. And you use ChatGPT to help you really form up that correspondence within the actual document itself, so you can understand that it is compliant, it is legally all sweet, and then when you come up with disputes or come up with issues or things like of that nature, you've done everything top notch. You're squeaky clean, you're doing it right. So when you get debt collectors onto them, if you need to, which I hope no one has to do that, but at least you've done all the right things rather than just generating an invoice that just has a number, a line item, and a brief that says 7-day terms. In some situations, it will just mean fuck all. So doing that sort of stuff is fantastic. Outside of that, it just comes down to really just putting in problems that you face on a daily basis or a weekly basis that you want to see improved, and just see what answers really pop out at the back end, because some of the solutions they give have been very beneficial for me as well. And what they also do is they also help find things online that may have already solved that problem. So other examples of sort of AI systems that I've seen on site, also I'm seeing now for site safety software, job management software, timesheets, communication for employees. There's already applications out there that use this type of stuff. So it might even be timesheets where it's already a very simple process. You might want to have notes or voice notes, or you might have job management software where you have defects and you can add a picture of a defect. You can do this. It talks to these people. You might have chat bots on your actual website itself. So this is like an AI built messenger application where someone goes on, asks, you feed it all the information you already need. It might be how much does it cost to change a light globe or whatever the bullshit is. And the responses from that can at least be a little bit more specific to your company, which creates somewhat of a personalization of that engagement with your company itself. But it just gets a foot in the door. It turns a cold lead into a bit of a warm lead. All right. So they've already had that connection with you. They've had a bit of a response back and forth. And then you can even automate that process. You might even say to them, all right, you might be quote a job. And then they go, all right, this is the details. All right, cool. Send some photos. And it sends photos. I'm like, all right, cool. Do you have any plans? Do you have any of this? And you can build these things into your business. So you can get to a certain stage where you'll get an email, which will have, this is the scope of works. This is the client's details. This is what their budget is, whatever it may be. And half the work's already done. You've saved time, half an hour on a phone call. And then from that, you can go call the client up. All right, cool. Now I understand you've already given these details, what's going on. Get some more clarity, go around there, price the job, go from there. So that's another aspect or way in which you can use these AI systems in place currently. The things that I can see happening in the future, I must admit, are things like AI-powered lead generation. So a mate of mine is building out something for this at the moment. It's going to be called Job Done. And it's using AI to, take an image of an issue or a scope of works. And then based on that image, it will create a scope of works. It will say it can even get to a certain point where it can give a price estimate based on other type of work. And what it does, it actually the more data you have, the more accurate it can be. So you'll have an image of say PowerPoint. It might be replace PowerPoint. And then in the back end database, which is what it's trained on, might have 10 quotes from 10 different electricians that say, right, change a PowerPoint. It was $100 here, $50 here, $30 here. And it can just give a bit of a price estimate so people can get an understanding of what they're in for somewhat. Now, it's never going to be perfect. It's only perfect until you get the person on site to price it. But at least it gets you closer to an answer and helps solve a problem throughout the process, which is going to be, connecting the right individuals with the right defect. So rather than having a human interaction, this is all done through AI based on what it visually sees, what scope you put in, all those types of stuff. So that's what I see going on in the future with sort of lead generation, getting more work. As well as that, AI-powered takeoffs is going to be definitely something that people must be building at the moment. I haven't seen it yet. But it's like uploading drawings and it pulls out all the data and then also completes an estimate on the back end of that. Now, the estimate itself, I wouldn't imagine it to be biblical, but it has the capacity to run a set of engineering documentation through, pull out all the lengths of the steel, the size of the steel. Then you can run that against, if you're working meter rates or tonnage rates, you can put your rates against that. So it can collate it all, calculate it all together, and then spit out a result. That means you can get back to a client and say to them, steel fab job's going to be 100 grand, around 100 grand. And if they say, all right, well, you're way off the mark, the other guy was 70 grand, sweet, you don't have to worry about anything more. Just keep proceeding, because the other guy wants to undercut you, which is cool. Or they're like, yeah, you're on the money. Can you firm up the price? Send through a quote. That's when you sit back, you go through what the scope's been pushed out, double check that it's all sweet. On a balance of probability, it's going to be pretty close, but there'll be a few things you might pick up or holding down bolts or something like that you haven't sort of allowed for. And then you can get your firm price out there, win the job. Now, what you're doing there is just saving time. You're saving time on the estimating process itself because, as you can understand, especially in the trade industry, we spend a lot of time pricing jobs and not winning them. So that's just the nature of the beast, which is completely fair and reasonable, but you can find these tools to really streamline that process so you can get more quotes out. And even if they're roughies, you can still get that conversation had quicker, get the commitment from the client, firm up the quote, and then your foot's already in the door. You're already going to do the job. As well as that, AI-powered self-inspections. This is one I want to build out. I reckon be pretty sweet. But a client walking around their house using their phone to create a video or with images about what their risk rating is with their home. So based on the data that we have, we can get to a certain point where we can build, and again, it's not biblical. You still got to pay a professional to come out, but something where someone can go around the house, somewhat semi-inspect it themselves. And based on that, they're like, all right, well, based on this crack on the wall, it's definitely going to be a major defect. It's humongous. You've got footing issues. Because some people have no clue, to the point where they'll look at the external wall or might be some rising damps, probably a good example. They're not too sure what it is or what it actually does. They just see some paint flicking off the white painted bricks and they don't think much of it, which is fair enough. You don't know. But the impact of what that is doing, it can be very significant. So they can pick up these things much sooner and they can do it all themselves. All right. Other than that, what else I can see moving forward? I can definitely see AI and robot interface making a big impact on the industry. Now, I don't think at the start they're going to be taking over roof plumbers or stand up trusses and shit like that. But I do believe in the manufacturing side of things, like truss walls and things like that, that'll fucking definitely happen. General labor, cleaning sites. I think all these things will happen in time. Now, it sounds crazy, but I do believe some of these repetitive tasks or heavy lifting and things like that. Yeah, I see it. At the moment, I can get an AI fucking butler to make me drinks in my home bar, but that's over a 1 year period. Give it 5-10 more years, it's going to be a whole different world. So that's the way in which I'm sort of looking at these things with regards to the trade industry. It's about using it now to help improve the systems that you have in place currently. And even during that process, you might even be building a business just by asking these questions, because this is where ideas come from. You might find that you've built this system that's really helped you do this one specific thing in your one specific niche business. I don't know, it might just be some bullshit task, some sort of checklist or some sort of QA procedure or safety procedure, maybe it's a hot works permit, I don't know, whatever it might be, for what you specifically do. And then if you can package that together, you might be able to on-sell that to other companies that need it, so they don't have to build it themselves. So there are these little opportunities that can come up as well. You don't have to make a business out of everything, but I must admit, some of the systems that some of these people are building, definitely other people want. So I think it's about exploring it, learning more about it, making sure you have it in the back of your mind. You have something that's slowing you down, see if you can solve it. See if you can solve it using AI. If there's a physical interaction, maybe your robot's too expensive to sort it out at this rate, but I honestly think in time that's going to be pretty fucking hardcore. Anyway, so more or less to recap, AI is more or less a tool you should investigate into now to help with the basic tasks within your company itself. Always have the future in mind, build systems to improve your business. And like I said, some of these systems might be business in their own. So there you go. Other than that, always strive for improvement. If you have a problem that's coming up, you might have too much work, you might have not enough work, you might be having issues with clients, whatever it may be, there's nothing wrong with just asking GPT or ChatGPT or any of these sort of AI, generative AI projects, how to solve these problems. And you can get some answers and some knowledge rather than reading a book here or a book there or whatever. You can just really flood yourself with good quality information to help you make some better decisions, better steps, and really improve what you're doing at the moment. So you're ahead of the game, because you don't want to be left behind, because we all know what happens there. You get shoved to the side and everyone's overtaking you and you're angry at the world. So don't be that individual. Do some research into it, get onto it, and it will be, I truly believe it will help benefit your situation. Always learn, always be a part of it. And I hope that has provided some value to some of the lads that have sort of followed me. But yeah, just fucking do it. It's not that bloody hard. Outside of that, have a ripper afternoon, evening, morning, whatever time it is. And I'll see you in the next one. Hooroo.